So if you didn't know by virtue of my beard and poor hair that I'm a geek, I have these stickers on my MacBook, so that's proof positive. First of all, thank you to the Thorogood guys for inviting Salesforce to speak, and thank you for staying on before lunch to hear what Salesforce offers in this area. I think it was either Churchill, Lincoln, or my father that said years ago that to know where you're going, it's good to know where you come from. I think it was actually Churchill. But it's important just to give you some context about why Salesforce is in this business. Now, there's a commercial reason why Salesforce has entered the analytics business, because Salesforce CRM dominates, if you will, the CRM business, but that's only a small market, relatively speaking. So approximately $28 billion of business is pumped through CRM globally on an annualized basis. Analytics is actually $10 billion bigger per year. So commercially, it makes sense for Salesforce to enter that marketplace. But more importantly, we position ourselves as being the customer success platform, not just a CRM business. As Julia pointed out, we do more than just CRM. And in a B2B world, it makes sense to store data in a relational schema, like Salesforce. So like underneath, it's Oracle, of course. But as that customer platform, we can't shape clickstream analysis into a relational database model. You can't really put... Just say no. That sounds familiar. We can't put unstructured data all that well into a structured database relational model in a schema. It just doesn't make sense for customers' interactions. When you go into Harvey Nicks and you check in on Pinterest, or you go to an iBeacon and you trigger some event or something happened between you and a brand, we can't just say to our customers increasingly, store that off Salesforce's platform, do what the guys have demonstrated previously, just store your lightweight CRM data in Salesforce and try later on to merge them together. That's just not going to hold water for very much longer, as we, again, position ourselves as being that customer success platform across all customer touch points. So when we founded the business 15 and a half years ago in a 2-bedroom apartment, it was, of course, Salesforce was the Salesforce automation company. So to actually provide a public cloud application, just like Amazon, just like those Alta Vista experiences that were consumer-like experiences, can we do the same thing for an enterprise application like CRM? Go back in time, who were the premier CRM vendors of the day? There was the Vantivs, there was the Siebels of the world. And where are they? And I don't say that in a very triumphalist way. I just ask you, just to Trevor's point at the very start, technology is moving so rapidly, we have to reimagine ourselves from the ground up every 18 months in this business. So you'll see some slides from me today to explain our first foray into this analytics market. I do ask for your forbearance. It is release 1. It's limited release to the American market presently. It's single language, single currency. I'd love to talk to you, anybody here who wants to do a pilot with Salesforce around it. But just in the interest of our trust values in Salesforce, if something doesn't work or if something is a bit iffy, just bear with us. Just like when Benioff, our founder, started the business 15 and a half years ago, we weren't the leaders in CRM at that stage. We had a lot to learn. You guys are the experts, Thorogood are the experts, so we're looking to learn from the industry in terms of best practices going forward. Okay? So analytics for the rest of us. As you see, we started off in 1999 as a sales cloud automation application. We moved into service management. If you wanted to log a ticket with your local utility, if you wanted to go to EA Games or Activision, log a ticket, a case, that's all powered through Salesforce's case technology. If you wanted to build a custom application on our platform, be they for Heroku, for a customer-facing world, a mobile application, or perhaps an internal-facing application, that's also an application on our cloud, platform cloud. The fourth cloud we acquired 2 years ago by virtue of the acquisition of ExactTarget. So we have a fourth cloud called the Marketing Cloud. And the fifth cloud, much like the fifth Beetle, is brand new to us, and that's what I want to talk to you today about. A word from our lawyers, first of all. As a publicly quoted company, it's important to point out that everything you see today is available, but there are some features I might mention in my presentation that shouldn't influence your decision to make a buying decision for Salesforce technology. Okay? Some future roadmap, et cetera. Because as a cloud provider, we release new features 3 times per year. So any forward-facing or future-mentioned features, don't let that influence any decision you make to buy software. The full text of this beautiful statement is on our website should you want to see it. Okay, now the fun. So again, there's commercial reasons we're in this business. There's that push from CIOs and CEOs to say to Mark Benioff and our customers, Give me that 360-degree view of the customer. I know it's a jaded expression, but that's the view we're going. Beyond just B2B, beyond my sales teams, beyond just cases. What are they doing in the retail market? What insights can I glean from this stuff? What do I know? What other stuff can I get, information can I get to make me a better product or service company? And that's the world we're going to. So we do, obviously, the top sales, force automation, service, that's Service Cloud, marketing for that kind of top-line demand gen. Communities are our version of portals. So when you want to extend the reach of your Salesforce instance to your customers, partners, etc., that's called Salesforce Communities. And of course, Salesforce apps. Salesforce Force Automation, the first cloud, is but one of 4.5 million apps on our cloud. Again, it's not a very well-known fact. So apps ranging from HR to finance, the App Exchange applications, we have 4.5 million different apps on the Salesforce cloud. 145,000 customers, all building new types of applications. Sales and service are just but two. Okay. The challenge, of course, is getting the information, not just in Salesforce, but we're living in a pragmatic world in the Salesforce environment. We have all that structured data about our customers, the known unknowns, for want of a better expression. We have what they bought. We have the cases they've logged, etc. But there's a wealth of stuff in your structured repositories, be they SAP, Oracle of the world, Splunk worlds, the clickstream stuff, Omniture, that isn't, generally speaking, living in the same data model as your customer master record. And we have to address that as an industry, and specifically here as Salesforce. And that's where we're trying to address this in Salesforce Wave. Because we're not giving, as an industry, the right tools to people who are curious in our industries. Give them the chance to amplify their impact on your business. Give them the information. Give them access to the tools they need to slice and dice the way they want to without being a data scientist. How do I get visibility to my pipeline? Common sales question. How do I grow my base? How do I create a creative business initiative for the CEO? And where is the puck going? Who are the next customers? What are the next products, the next services I should invest in? And as much as we love the SAPs and the Oracles and the Microsofts of the world, and we do love Microsoft, it is traditionally difficult to go from a productionized, to use Trevor's word, BI implementation, where it does take a long time to get what you want, to give that information back to people. Where does the value match? So as a technology company like Salesforce, we kind of changed how technology is delivered to people. We try to match value to the cash flow you spend. So many of you here are Salesforce customers, and hopefully you feel that way. But it's very hard to give the average Joe or Jane access to that data to help them make the most informed business decision. Why? Well, because on the right-hand side here you have what we would call relatively inflexible schemas living in relational data models. And as you'll see from Salesforce Analytics, we don't use a relational database schema to store data. There is no database behind this. So the answer, Analytics Cloud. Analytics for the rest of us. And it's powered by the Wave platform. And the reason we've called it the Wave platform is because the first wave in our language was centralized computing. PDP-11s, the VACs, the mainframes, AS400s, that was a centralized computing model where very few people had access to the information contained in those systems. That's the first wave. Second wave was mobile, was social, was client server, all that stuff that we are familiar with and millennials are familiar with. The third wave is you're going to see so much customer data, interaction data, event-based data, machines streaming what they're doing, who they're seeing. All that information has to be stored somewhere, and we have to give the business the tools with which they can make the best decision. Again, living off that single customer view against a contact record in CRM. And it shouldn't just be the domain of the experts. Everybody should have access to this stuff, and they should feel comfortable exploring, finding out what's going on. It should, of course, be mobile, and I'll show you a mobile demonstration of the Analytics Cloud. And finally, platform. Whether it's Windows, Microsoft, IE, whatever browser environment, wherever you are, it should just work. As I said, we're a born cloud, and everything we do in Salesforce is mobile first. As I mentioned, what underpins Salesforce Analytics is this Wave platform, this massively scalable infrastructure living in our data centers. We acquired this technology in 2013 when we bought a company called Edgespring in the Bay Area. The company had this really unique way of giving billions of rows of data to a user and allow them to explore and delve into what's going on at speed. To give them a consumer-facing type experience behind data. If I want to find out about, I was sitting over there in Dustin Hoffman's seat, if I want to find out about Dustin Hoffman, and I Wikipedia'd Dustin Hoffman this morning in the first half of the presentation, that's just what I'm used to as a consumer. I know the questions I want to ask. I don't have to rely on the questions that Wikipedia think I'm going to ask. That's the challenge with traditional BI projects. What questions do I, as a business person, want to ask of the data lake, data set, or the data warehouse? Think about it that way. It's this kind of search-based, lightweight, semantic search we're going in. So I'm not quite sure what I want to know about, but I want to just ask some questions and give me back some other answers that maybe might trigger off more questions in my mind. I don't go into an exploration session as a user knowing the questions I have. I may only discover the questions I have as I explore. And the final bit of magic we're doing in Salesforce, as I said, it's a release 1, so it's just to let you know, is we took the IP from Edgespring, and now we're going to industrialize this thing, make this an application that's going to be production ready for our enterprise customers. What does that mean? It means putting that technology from Edgespring, the great stuff, into our 6 data centers around the world, to give you that uptime, to give you the security, to make sure you guys know that when you log onto a Salesforce page, you get a response back in the 1/5 of a second, to make sure that when you actually lose data, we take care of the curation, the backup, and the governance of that for you. That's quite an extended process because, again, trust is the core value of what we do in Salesforce. So that's part of the journey upon which we're embarking. Bit of a geek slide, so bear with me. How do we do this? How do we give you the insight at speed? We don't use a database model. There's no schemas attached, no star, no OLAP. Not very traditional how we do it. We actually compress the data. We create what are called key value stores and invert the index, just like you in Google. Google searches about 27 billion pages. When you do a search, we do it in a very similar kind of way. So I hope you'll see the performance reflects that consumerization experience of BI. And Julie, that's as technical as I'm going to get now, so my promise is true. OK. But of course, it isn't just B2B or sales data or case data. It's any kind of data that you care about where a customer is concerned. We have a customer, GE, who actually build aircraft engines that tweet and chatter to the service center. So when I'm a customer who buy a GE engine, I know the operational performance, the data concerning that engine's operation as a function of time. So it helps me to price the next contract when I sell that engine back to the next customer. You know, we have many customers in the telematics industry, in the insurance industry. They want to know where the data about the drivers of these cars or the wearers of the Fitbit, where that data live. It can't live in a separate world to my CRM data. So we have to kind of get over that as a business in Salesforce. If you have data such as accounts, contacts, the standard Salesforce objects, the Salesforce Analytics Cloud will give you a native connector, similar to what you saw earlier from Paul. You won't need to do that in Power BI in the near future. That's going to be native out of the box to drag stuff from Salesforce and give you the chance to do the exploration natively in our technology. As I mentioned, it's all cloud. We have no on-premise version of Salesforce. There's no diskette or, I'm showing my age, any DVDs or CDs you can get to install Salesforce. It's all cloud. As I mentioned, we were born 15.5 years ago. We're about to introduce the Spring 15 release of Salesforce. That's 45 releases of Salesforce. We release 3 times per year. And that's a bit of a shift for customers to believe. So as I mentioned, we weren't the leaders of CRM in 1999. We launched this business. We got there through innovation with customers, where customers said, this is what we want to see Salesforce. And we hope that that will be the same way that customers will help us to grow our analytics product in the future. And every single one of our customers, the 145,000 customers around the world, they all use the same version of Salesforce. We don't have a version for Cisco systems and a version for Merrill Lynch and a version for whoever. Everybody out there in the audience today who uses Salesforce is using the same version everybody else uses. That's the whole democratization position that Salesforce has. So this is, again, a little bit of marketing, so forgive me. The very top, what we see in Salesforce as being the way you do BI today. Create your data warehouse, and from that, perhaps your data marts. Choose a BI platform. Do some discovery, run reports, export to Excel and PowerPoint, and then share and socialize what you've learned. Does that sound familiar? It is marketing, I told you. But the bottom piece is where Salesforce Analytics fits in. Look, you have the data, put it in the data warehouse, and from that, we will create a data set of meaningful insights for your users. That's the promise. It's native to Salesforce, so bringing data again in from Salesforce is native. It's a search-based query engine, schema-free, and the visualization part of Salesforce Analytics is quite powerful. So hopefully you'll see we've really refreshed how we want our customers to see the data. And final two pieces, collaboration. So Julia mentioned chatters being our social layer around Salesforce CRM. We also want you as customers to say, I have a dashboard here, I have some information I want to share with people. I'm going to share on Chatter and invite my colleagues to tell me why is that the way it is? Why is that number in that geography as it is? Why aren't we selling more widgets in that location? That's the idea with adding the social layer around that information. And finally, mobile. If it isn't mobile, it isn't worth deploying. That's the Salesforce position. So prior to my demo, here's the question you want to think about. What if analytics were reinvented for today's businesses? Where everyone's mobile, everyone's social, and of course customers buy across all channels. Now can you switch over to, let's go to the browser first actually, excuse me. Okay. So before I jump into analytics demo, let me just show you something that you guys who are Salesforce customers right now should do. It's included in what you have in Salesforce. It's called single sign-on. So when I in Salesforce, or many of our customers use Salesforce, they don't go to CRM first of all. They go to what's called the app launcher. We can be the federator for you for identity across all your applications. You see here your Salesforce Sales Cloud. I may have Concur. I could have Office 365. I could have Workday, or my Analytics Cloud. So just think about Salesforce beyond CRM as being a place to launch your experience in other application that you might have running. We can take your identity and federate it across to those systems. Okay, that's the reason we're launch from there. So I've all got down to my analytics application, which again is part of the Salesforce platform. Here you see similar concepts to that which you've seen previously today. You've got dashboards. You have what we call lenses. Lenses are kind of snapshots of those dashboards, etc. And you have data sets. Data sets are analogous to a data warehouse, smaller, they're more discrete, but you can also combine data sets to actually merge data from different sources. You may have a data set here on the left-hand side from your operational system, your ODS, for example. You may have CRM data. You have different data sets. You can create another data set to merge any number of data sets together and do some lightweight ETL on the information. So let me quickly start in the dashboard environment before I go to the mobile world. So I'm operating here over, could be 150,000 records. Let me just quickly play with the data. This data's been provisioned for me as a user. Of course, I can interact with the graphs. It updates as I go. Bottom 10, etc. Then you go back to home, see some other dashboards. Again, interacting with this, use dimensions and measures. I can define how I want my end users to interact with it. Very similar to what you would do at the moment. You provision a dashboard or a set of productionized reports for your end users. But we're going a bit further than that in Salesforce. We want to say, well, let's just give our users access to the actual data. Start here in the sales. I have 10,000 rows. Again, it could be 1 million, could be 20 million. We're looking to handle large scales of records. And I want to go in there and do some measuring. So let me just sum amount converted. So I have 10,000 rows of transactions. On the left-hand side, right-hand side, $180 million or euros of values. So very quickly, what's the country of those? Interesting. What's happening? Okay. So you see, we're trying to create this very rich visualization of that data that's consumed in Salesforce Wave, but make it easier for people to consume it. Now, if I show you the mobile view of that world, mobile is not a second-class citizen in the Salesforce ecosystem. So would you mind switching over, please, to the mobile environment? So here is the mobile version of Salesforce Analytics on the Wave platform. Of course, I have my dashboards on the top here, lenses, data sets, just like I had previously. But go into a top open opportunities. I see my visualizations. I go in there. I'm going to drill into that. Drill in by fiscal year. 2014. Do some more drilling. What's the product that's interesting? Nothing good there. Let's keep on going back. Let's explore what's happening. Let's explore. Change the way it looks. That, by the way, is the second reason we've called it Salesforce Wave, because of the, just to let you know. But you see, hopefully, this is designed to give the end user the confidence to make them feel like I can explore this stuff. I don't need to be a PhD in data to get what I need to get, to give me the insights I need to do my job. Whether I'm in sales, service, retail, marketing, these are the kind of tools you put in the hands of people who can make the right decisions. Okay? And finally, the collaboration piece, quite an important element of it. It's all great that I know it, but what if I want to do something with it? So I want to know what's happening in this area. OK, done. And of course, send it to email, send to chatter, or send wherever you want to do. OK? So I'm not promising you a fully baked, fully finished application. It's release 1. We're looking for customers to help us to make this a product that will appear someday on the quadrants you saw earlier in the presentation. But as I said, we're part of a different technology model in Salesforce, driven by what customers want to see, not just what techies want to build. So I hope that was useful for you, and thank you for your time.